Hello. I wanted to come here because I don't really have, or it feels like I don't really have anyone to talk to. And I haven't really been making these videos because I had a feeling that, well, in the industry that I'm in, acting or trying to be an actor, no, I'm using the word trying loosely because I don't particularly try. I had a fear that exposing myself like this, if anyone or any company or any director or any group of people would end up seeing these kind of vulnerable things, then they would think or interpret that I wasn't worth working with because give a bad vibe off or whatever. You know what I mean. How many actors really out there do you know, famous or not, that expose themselves to or show themselves, I guess. I suppose more and more are doing it, but not that I'm likening myself to a famous actor. I was just fearful that if I would talk like this about depression or struggles, that it would impact my career. But then again, I don't particularly have a career, so I was thinking it might impact the potential future career. So maybe there is still hope in my brain somewhere. Yeah, I just wanted to talk to you because it hasn't gone away and it never will go away, my depression, I don't think. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. There are merits in trying out different things, I suppose. Definition of insanity is doing the same things and expecting different results. I mean, my life and my day-to-day routine is largely the same. I don't drink anymore. I'm 5 months sober, which people go, hooray, yay, great. The downside to being sober is that you have to be confronted with your pain, wherever it came from, on a daily basis, and kind of trying to come to terms with that. And I was speaking to a great teacher the other day who's very good and kind and patient with me, and he was talking about duality, which I haven't gone into yet, but he said what helped him when he was in a kind of disastrous place was sitting with the pain and saying yes to it. And I I have been doing that. I have been saying yes to the pain and accepting the pain. But I'm very worried and I'm very stressed. The world's hard. It's hard being alive. And people go, oh, you haven't got it as bad as other people. I know I haven't. I'm not going to beat myself up because I'm not suffering as much as anyone else. I just wanted to talk. What's been going on? I've run out of money completely. Probably, it's my fault completely. There's no outside factors like I haven't had a medical emergency. There hasn't been a major thing with the house. I haven't had any vet bills. There's not been any debts. Really, I have got debt, and now that I have no money, it's kind of terrifying. But I am waiting for money to come in, from a job I did about a month ago. So that will rectify that. So that's number one, stressed about money. But that, like I said, will be rectified. Number two, what's number two? What's getting you down, Dom? I think it goes back to the big thing of not being good enough. And the strange thing with not being good enough is that a lot of the time you are good enough for other people. People think, oh, if you have any merits, or you're just a nice person, or you're good to be around, people say, yeah, you're great, or it's lovely to see you, or you're a great friend, or you do this, you do that really well. But that isn't good enough if you're not good enough for yourself. And how does one become good enough to oneself? What's this kind of attainment that we're aiming for? What's this vision in our head of ourselves that we're not getting to either by our own will or our own stubbornness or our own discipline? Now, I don't I don't suffer from lack of discipline. I have lack of discipline, and I don't think I've ever had much discipline. If there's something I enjoy, I'll work hard at it. But it's if I don't enjoy something or I find it tedious, as I do many things in my life, I just don't do it, avoid it, or do it half-assed. And that, as unsurprisingly to many of people, is led to not a difficult life, but a kind of a kind of a kind of life where you can see clearly that a parallel life has gone on at the same time, where this person has had discipline and worked hard, and this is where you are and you haven't worked hard, and you haven't improved much. Improved in the general sense of a craft or work or spirituality or intelligence or, I don't know, monetary what's the word? Monetary success. And the more the years go on, the more the gaping hole is, the gaping void is apparent. Now, would I be happy if I had lots of money, lots of success, lots of if I did lots of work, and well, my interests are writing, acting, music. I gave up music. I still love music. I don't listen to it enough. Acting, I have an agent and I audition quite a lot, but it's not happening. I get adverts sometimes, by the grace of God and by the kind people that give me the opportunities to do them, and they're fantastic. I love doing them. But again, I get in the way of that as well. I was filming something the other day and I was just in my head and I just couldn't get it. I just could not get it. And that thing, that overbearing thing of you're not good enough is just, it's just there at all times. I can't accept that what I'm doing is enough. And in the industry like acting or something like that, if you have an audition, and it's not as much as when I started acting and I started going to auditions, I used to leave the room of a panel of about 4 people in a small room, and you kind of try and you try and impress them, or you try and get it right, or you try and do the scene so you get the job, and then you're trying to get I was trying to get validation from them. And I'd leave the room and I'd go, usually there's a tiny toilet in the building in these studio spaces, and I'd go immediately into the toilet and I'd break down and cry every single time, maybe for 2-3 years. Then I stopped acting for 6 or 7 years and just did menial jobs just to forget about everything. I think I was drinking a lot and gambling a lot, and I just worked so I could gamble and drink. And then I was on antidepressants maybe for 4 or 5, 6 years. So that time I was not zombified, maybe zombified, because I don't know what I did in those years. I didn't really do anything. I'd gamble, drink, work, then come home, game, sleep, do the same again for about 5-6 years. Message people out of spite, hateful messages, or be sarcastic, or see anyone who was having a good life or happy or content with themselves, I'd just diminish it. But I thought that I convinced myself that was funny. I was being funny by doing that, but it must have just come across as bitter and hate-filled, and of course that means more you are avoided, obviously, and you're not left out of things, because I never put myself presently to be involved in things, you know. But it certainly it certainly didn't help. It certainly didn't help. So where am I now? Yeah, money, acting is fine. It's brilliant when it happens. And I feel comfortable. I wish I felt comfortable in more situations. And I wish I loved myself so I could do it. Sorry. I'm gonna be honest. I still live at home with my parents. I'm 32. I'm nearly 33. I lived in excuse me. I lived in London for about 5 or 6 years on a floor in a kitchen, which I thought was artistic. Then I lived in a house, and then I lived with two of my wealthy friends that were very lovely and let me live with them for free for a couple of years. I'm very grateful for that. I think you have. What did they say? The answer is either drugs or God. Throughout history, you read books and you hear about things of people living miserably and then they die and that was their existence. Maybe that's my life. Maybe I should learn to just live with being sad. Maybe that's my role in life, like Eeyore. Eeyore was sad, but he still had friends. I have friends. I have wonderful friends. Nothing's ever enough, and I don't know whether anything will be ever enough. It's got to a point where I do contemplate death quite a lot, which is a new, which is a new, a new regime. I don't think I'd ever off myself though. Not while my parents were alive anyway. I couldn't do that to them. But what is there? I know there's beauty in the world. And people say, oh, this is a phase, things will get better. But I've felt like this on and off since 13, 14. And I know you're not therapists. I should see a therapist. I have a therapist booked in next week. I think the remedy to these problems are, in my mind anyway, these are the remedies to how I feel. And they're the classics. They're the classics that everyone knows. Exercise, good eating, good sleep, discipline, whatever that may be, hard work, whether that be grafting or working at a craft. Like I said before, I wouldn't say I was a talented musician. I'd say I had a propensity for a good line. Like I had a good musical ear, I think, not in terms of hitting notes, but in terms of I knew how it should sound. So I could play when I practiced a lot and I had the confidence, or I memorized something and I worked really hard at something for maybe 8 or 10 hours a day for months. After a while, I could play one piece to a certain good standard, and I got scholarships to some of the best music colleges in the world, but I dropped out after 2 terms because I felt like an imposter. I regretted that for a few years, blaming myself because I felt I didn't work hard enough, and if I had the more mental capacity or if I was stronger, I could have sat it out. But I'd convinced myself that my lack of musical discipline or training in childhood was kind of it skewed and destroyed my chances. Excuse me, for the future. I hope I don't have snow all over my face. I apologise if I do. So, where am I? I do a podcast once a week. Which I'm very thankful for. It's very funny. I get to be funny on there. I have great, beautiful friends. I'm very thankful for. I have great parents. My relationship with my brothers a lot better these days. I've got no interest in being with being with someone else. I don't really have anything to offer at the moment. As in terms of relationship. Look at me. What do you want to be with this? And you can also see now why I feared that it could scarper my chances of being an actor if I put things like this out there. But I don't want to burden people with. I don't want to burden those people near me with these kind of problems. People are going through their own things. And why is it arrogant that I would ring people up to kind of go through this, And that's the mental strength thing. How can people go through actual hard things and not have to, and be strong enough not to burden other people with it? I admire those people greatly. I do. Maybe I'll feel better in spring. And if you go back over my channel and watch the silly videos about, impressions and... I was just try-harding to be funny. And I stopped doing them because I felt that they weren't funny and they were embarrassing and cringy. So, I don't know what I'll do. I'm going to write something now. But I'll do what my teacher said, and I'll sit with the pain. I'll sit with the pain. Thanks for listening anyway. I'm not in any, trouble, or I'm not going to do anything stupid. I just wanted to talk without anyone talking back at me. What's the answer? There is no answer. That's it. There is no answer. There's just nothing. And then to quote Whitney and I, one day I imagine I'll be taken away by some little tumour. And that'll be that. It'd be good to leave some kind of beauty behind though, wouldn't it? So I'll work on that for a bit. Thanks anyway. Trying to lose weight. Not drinking, so those are the positives. And it started to rain. Pathetic fallacy. I'll put some lighter videos up in the future, and maybe being this vulnerable will actually help with my acting, because I'm tired of pretending I'm okay. See ya.